Okay, welcome back to another episode of Learning Linux with Lawrence. In this episode, we're going to be learning how to create and edit files. You're going to be doing a lot of creating and editing files in Linux Gym, and some of that editing is going to be very complex, some of it's going to be very simple. We'll get there. When we're editing files in Linux, we can do that there are two text editors that I'm going to be teaching you guys about. There are more out there, but I'm going to be teaching you guys about Vim. Vim is a very difficult to use but very powerful text editor, and Nano. Nano is a lot simpler, but not as powerful. And there's a time and a place for both. Depends on what you're doing. If you're doing very complex things, you want to use Vim. If not, Nano is probably fine. For most of the stuff that we're going to be doing in Linux Gym, you're actually going to be using Vim. Yeah, we'll get to that. Before we can start editing any files, we actually need to create a file. And the way that we can do that, mysteriously, is with the touch command. So if I go touch, and then I'm going to do a file that is called my favorite commands. Yeah. I'm going to list my favorite Linux commands in this file. Cool. So now if I do ls, not LSD, if I do ls, we can see that my favorite commands has been created. I'll just delete llama names. That was there for a different thing. Okay. Cool. So if we want to edit my favorite commands in Vim, the way that we can do that is by going Vim followed by the name of the file that we want to edit, which is my favorite commands. Cool. We are now in Vim. The most important thing to know about Vim is how to exit it. There's actually online memes. Well, it's just memes. Lots of memes about how hard it is to exit Vim. If you don't know what I'm talking about, I recommend you look it up. Some funny stuff. Anyway, the reason that it's memeable is because escape doesn't do it. Q doesn't do it. There's so many obvious things which don't work. And this is because right now we are in what's called normal mode. And in normal mode, Vim expects to receive commands from us in order to do anything. So this is what makes Vim so difficult to use, but it's also what makes Vim so powerful. So in normal mode, we can put in commands to do all sorts of crazy stuff to our file. You know, if you imagine you had a file with 10,000 lines on it and you wanted to replace all of the commas in there with dashes, or every second comma with a dash, something weird like that, you can do that in Vim. But, good luck doing something like that in Word. It'll be much harder for you. So that's the power of Vim. When we're in normal mode, the way that we do anything is by typing a colon, which tells Vim that we're going to be giving it a command right now. And in order to quit, we would use Q. So colon Q and then hit enter. So Q for quit. And now we have quit. Easy. But no, it's not that easy, because what if, actually, I'll get there in a second. If we want to edit the file, we actually need to be in insert mode. And the way that we get into insert mode is by pressing I. And now you'll see at the bottom of the screen, we have this insert thing, which is telling us we're definitely in insert mode now. And now I can type on the keyboard. Oh, that's cool. I'm going to list some of my favorite commands. ls, man, pwd, I don't know, maybe touch. Yep, those look like good commands. Okay. Now, if I want to get out of insert mode, the escape key will get me out of insert mode, so the insert thing is gone now. So I'm in normal mode again, and I can now quit Vim by doing what we did before, colon Q, but it has not worked because what this is saying is no write since last change, add exclamation mark to override. So this is sort of like when Microsoft Word comes up and says, you've made changes, do you want to save before quitting? This is basically what's going on right now. So we have two options. One option is we could override, which means Q exclamation mark, which would be quit. I definitely want to quit. I don't care that I haven't saved this. Or we can do WQ, which stands for write quit. So write, as in save, and then quit. So if we do that, we can then go back into the file to check that it's all still there, and we can see that yes, our changes have been saved and that's worked. Awesome. So that's Vim. Vim is much more complicated than that, but that's the basics of it. Okay. Now I'm going to show you guys about nano. So if we want to use nano, we can go nano, my favorite commands. There we go. And this is what nano looks like. So you can see already it's much nicer to you because it's actually got some indications of like things that you can do. For example, what this is saying is if we go Control X, we can exit. How neat is that? So easy. Alright. And unlike Vim, we can always type stuff in nano. It just acts like a normal text editor, which makes life much easier. So let me add a command. I'm going to add the cat command to my list of favorite commands. Swell. We're going to learn about the cat command soon, don't worry. Okay, and now if I do Control X to quit, you can actually see here it's basically doing the same thing that Vim did to us when we tried to quit, except it's doing it in a much nicer way. So save modified buffer, answering no will destroy changes. We get to answer what we want to do. Do we want to save or not? So I want to save, so I hit the Y key, then it says file name to write. It's offering me the chance to change the file name if I want to. I don't want to, just hit enter, and there we go. It's a bit more interactive, easier to use, but nowhere near as powerful. And like I said, try to stick to Vim, although it is harder. You get used to it. And Vim is what we're going to be using for most of Linux Gym.